What's up? Alright, so in this video I'm going to be talking about a time that I got way too messed up. But before I get into that, I actually want to give a huge special shout out to the sponsor of this video.
Raid Shadow.
Nah, just messing around. Don't play that game, it's absolutely garbage. Now before we get into it, let me start off the video by saying that I am a recovering addict. I've got almost 6 months of sobriety right now, and YouTube has been an outlet that has helped to keep me clean and sober. And one more thing before I get into it, if you have any trip reports of your own, any stories, any kind of drug, please feel free to email me or DM me on Discord. That information will be down in the description, and if I'm able to tell your story good enough, and if there's enough cool shit that happened or crazy shit, whatever, I will do a video on your trip report. Now, with all of that being said, here's what happened. So this happened years back at my really good friend's ex-fiance's house, and we had been partying that entire weekend, but this night was easily the craziest of them all. So we had plans to invite a decent amount of people over, and we would all just get as high as we possibly could, just super fucked up. Me and my friend, we had 2CB, 2CE, acid, beer, and whatever else we had, I don't even remember. So I had a really bad sleep schedule from partying that entire weekend, and I woke up at like 6 or 7 p.m. and I remember walking into the living room, and there was like 2 or 3 people that we had invited there already, and I don't know, I knew that it was going to be a crazy night because the vibe was very let's get fucked up. You could tell that it was going to be a good party. So anyways, I remember walking out there, did my stretch, and I sat down on the chair. First thing I did, popped the tab of acid and opened up some beer. And I know that I've said acid is not a party drug. It's not, believe me. I was just doing a lot of it back then, and I didn't really trip on it anymore. Like, it just kind of gave me an energy boost with very mild visuals. And of course, I had planned on taking more throughout that night. So more and more people started showing up, and I remember around 9 o'clock, that's about when everybody was there, and it was a drug party. Like, legit, like, people brought their own coke, pills, mushrooms, you name it. There was a lot of drugs at that party. So I remember walking out back to the patio, and they had this huge table that everybody was sitting around and doing their drugs. Like, there was this dude doing lines of coke, and he was a weird dude, by the way. Like, I remember me and my friend were talking about how sketchy this guy was. Like, he was just acting really sketchy. So anyway, I look over to my right, and my bro had already had my line of 2CB ready as well as his. And he gestures me to come over there, and so I do, and he takes his hit first. And then he goes off somewhere because 2CB is a very painful drug to snort, and it makes you want to throw up for like the first 20 minutes because that initial hit is so intense. So I'm about to take my hit, and now everybody around the table is watching me, and I remember how uncomfortable that made me feel. But I just felt pressured to just get it over with and do it. So I lean over, snort that hit, and then I fuck off. Now, I've never thrown up from 2CB. I was always able to hold it back somehow, but not this night. This night, I actually did throw up, and for all I remember, it could have been because people were giving me drugs, and I was probably taking them. But anyways, I remember leaning over the fence in the backyard, and I'm throwing up a little bit, and I'm just looking off into the darkness, and I'm seeing like colors in the air just flying all over the place. I'm seeing all the houses all around, and the trees were just kind of dancing and moving around. So once I somewhat get my composure back, I go back into the house, I go into the living room, and I sit back down, and I pop 2 more hits of acid. And I remember I was chatting with this dude who I kind of knew, and he was talking about how he's always wanted to try acid, and he was just always too scared, or he could never find it, but if he did find it, he was too scared to take it. He was worried that he might have a bad trip or something. And so I asked if he wanted to try some, and he's like, I don't know, man, what if I have a bad trip? And I'm like, I think I said something like, nah, you won't have a bad trip, man. Just, take a smaller dose, and you'll just be vibing. So I handed him 2 tabs and told him how to take it. Because, I mean, one of my first times, I took 3 hits, and it was a perfect experience. It was amazing. It was beautiful, and I loved it. So I figured 2 would be, perfect for him since he was a little worried about having a bad trip. 2 was great. So he pops his hits and goes back to partying, and I start drinking a little bit more. And I don't remember if we smoked any weed at that party. We may have, but I could never say for sure. But after a little bit of time had went by, I went out back again, and the first thing I see is my friend takes another bump of 2CB, and he goes to throw up again. Like, Jesus Christ. But this is where things start to get kind of hazy for me. I don't really remember a whole lot after this. I do remember I was sitting at that table outside, and everybody around the table was just talking and talking, and there were so many conversations going on at the same time, and it was so intense. And everything either seemed like it was going in really slow motion or really fast. But I do remember time, like actual time, was going by very slow that night. So next thing I remember is I ran out of smokes, but I knew that I had more in my car. So I'm looking for my keys, and I struggled like hell to find my keys, but I did eventually find them, and I went out to my car. And I just sat out in my car for a minute and just enjoyed that peacefulness and quietness. I was on a lot of drugs, and I just remember it was very calm and very nice. So anyways, I finished my smoke, and I'm walking back, and I go back inside, and I remember I was just standing there looking very confused. I was looking around me, and I wasn't sure what it was, but something was definitely off. And next thing I remember, this dude comes walking around the corner, and as soon as he sees me, he like flinches. And I remember I asked him, "Do you know where Caleb is?" And he was like, "I'm sorry, I don't know who Caleb is. I think you're at the wrong place." I was like, No, you were at the party last night, remember? No, you know what, Caleb's in the bathroom, I'll just wait for him, don't worry. He's like, "No, really, you're at the wrong place, man. I don't know who Caleb is." And I thought he was fucking with me, so I'm like, I asked him like, "Yeah, you're fucking with me, man. Come on, man. You were at the party last night. Caleb's in the bathroom. I'll wait, man." And he's like, "I swear I'm not fucking with you, man. Look outside. Maybe you're the next house over or something." Sure enough, I peeked my head out. It was the next house over, and as soon as I noticed that, I was like, "Oh no, man, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't mean it, man. I'm so sorry." And I gave him a spook for sure. I was so fucking high. I don't know how I remember that happening, but I will never forget it. And I started just kind of awkwardly laughing and walking away, and finally go into the right house this time. And some people are asleep, and some people are up talking, just chilling, drinking. That dude that we thought was sketchy was just up talking to everybody that was just trying to sleep. I think he was on a lot of coke that night and some pills too. So me and my friend, we head out back, and I told him what had just happened, and he got a fucking kick out of it. But I'm just lucky that the dude did not beat my ass or call the cops. Again, I will never forget that night or that very moment. So me and my friend spent the rest of that night on the back porch just kicking it for the rest of that night, just tripping, drinking a little bit more. And let's not forget about the guy that I gave acid to, by the way. This dude came out back, and he sat down with us, and I had completely forgotten that I'd even given the dude acid until he started talking about what was going on. He said he spent like an hour in the bathroom after he had come up because he didn't know what the hell was going on. But then he started talking about how beautiful it was and how amazing it was. He started going on about dimensions and different universes. And this dude was just looking up at the stars the whole time, and he was just moving his hands all around. And he said, "Dude, I'm playing with the stars, man." You know, so I'm glad at least he had a good time. But at some point that night, everybody pretty much crashed except for me, my friend, and the dude who was on acid. We were just kicking it on the back porch till the sun came up. Everybody that stayed and did not leave that morning, we took them to breakfast. We all went to McDonald's and just talked about what had happened that night. It was a really good time, but also very dangerous. I was on a lot of stuff that night. At least acid, lots of 2CB, lots of alcohol. And I'm pretty sure I took a bump of coke too. And like I said, I mean, I could have been handed drugs and taken them, and I would not have remembered, and I'm sure I did. So that's the story of one of the craziest nights of my entire life, and I'm sure much more happened, like I said, but I remember I was on a lot of drugs, so there's probably a lot of stuff that I did that I just simply will never remember. Anyways, yeah, that's what happened, and, I can't really say that I don't miss those days, because I really do, getting high. I miss partying with my friends, and it was just a really good time. I miss that, but I'm also really glad that, I'm clean today, and I'm not doing that stuff anymore. Yeah, I mean, I feel better, and I look better, and, yeah, I just miss it is all. Even though psychedelic use could be a thing in the future, and if that does happen, you guys will know about it. I'll definitely do a video on that. But that could be a ways down the road. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the story. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a like, leave a comment telling me about what kind of experience you'd like to hear next, and another reminder to email me or DM me on Discord your trip reports, and I will possibly make a video on it. Also, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to hear more of these stories. The channel has been growing somewhat quick lately, and I really seriously appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, I really hope to see you guys in the next video. Hopefully the next one will be a very good one. Peace.